Well, can you remember what you were up to when you were 19 years old? Maybe you're like me and you were trying to make yourself wake up and get to your morning college class. Our guest today is 19 and has one of the most popular songs in America. Her name is Ann Wilson and her song is My Jesus. We'll trace an extraordinary story today that features dreams of space travel, heartbreaking loss, life-changing purpose, and tens of thousands being blessed through fresh and soul-filled songs. As we meet recording artist Ann Wilson, the warmest of welcomes. Ann, how's today looking so far, friend?
Oh, it's good. I'm so excited to be here. Thanks so much for having me.
You know, with somebody as talented as you are and the abilities that you have when it comes to music, you sort of look for things that we might have in common. And I did find one. We both have a tremendous affection, I believe, for Johnny Cash. You've just done a bit more with that than I have.
I love Johnny Cash. He is my favorite artist. I love his musical style, and I just love the way that he writes his songs and just super Southern rootsy sounds. And I'm a huge fan of him.
Do you have a favorite song? I know it's really tough to pick. There's this incredible catalog.
I think The Man Comes Around. I love that song because it's kind of like, it's got these just this biblical reference, just talking about and then it's also just got this really cool vibe. But I also like God's Gonna Cut You Down. I think that it's a harsh message, but it's truth. And so I really love the way that he just talks about that song and just shares that. So.
Oh man, I love that you picked The Man Comes Around. That's, in terms of a Cash song, that's essentially a deep track. So I salute you for that.
I know, I love that one.
You know, I was trying to honestly remember what I was doing when I was 19 years old, and you still are 19, correct? Just making sure first.
Yes, yeah.
Now, I all I could come up with, I remember trying to remember to wake up in time for college classes. That's what I remember about being 19 years old. And here you are at 19 with one of the most popular songs in America. I mean, honestly, how does that feel?
It feels amazing. It just humbles me because I get to realize that this is just all about the Lord and that He's just using me as His vessel. And I'm kind of been in this season of just gratitude. It's like every day there's more exciting news and just so many more testimonies of the way that God's using my songs to impact people. And so I would say that I'm feeling just all sorts of emotions, but overall just very overwhelmed by the goodness of God and the way that He is just using these songs in such a big way.
And it's an incredible story. We'll get into the meat of it here in just a moment, but it is important to get this first. You did want to be an astronaut when you were a kiddo, and this was not just like a fleeting passing thing. Like, you were working out how this was going to go. You were planning for it. Yeah,
yes. I grew up loving space, and I wanted to be an astronaut and work for NASA. And when I was in 7th grade, I did a class in science, and it was astronomy. And I had never really learned a lot about space up until that point. And so I just fell in love with space. And I always loved math and science in school. And so that was kind of like the start of it, was like, I'm actually passionate about math and science. And so this would almost be easy in a sense. Well, not like easy, but it would be in the subjects of college and stuff because I already enjoy doing math and science.
Yeah.
But it was also this whole thing of I just loved God's creation, and I wanted to experience more of it with my own eyes. And so I was very passionate about it. I was, actively pursuing that and was looking at college options and, just kind of looking at my future and where I'd want to go and all that kind of stuff. But that was definitely a really big passion of mine.
You know, it strikes me, there's still time. There's nothing that prohibits you from continuing to be an astronaut now. You're only 19.
I know. I think about it, and I'm like, no, it's not what God wants for me. But I definitely, if something changed, I would definitely go back to school and do it, I think. So. Man,
I was just so sorry to read about the passing of your brother, just this tragic situation. And yet, you talk about the goodness of God. I mean, in the midst of this, you sing a song at his funeral. And in that moment, you've talked about how you knew what you were supposed to do in that moment. Can you take us back there? And why was that a moment of such discovery for you?
Yeah, so I started to just worship the Lord like never before during that time. I just had this heart for just wanting to worship God with everything in me. And I was sitting down at the piano, and my mom overheard me singing "What a Beautiful Name" by Hillsong. And as I was singing and worshiping, she comes in and she's like, "Ian, I didn't know that you sang." And like, it was crazy. I was like, "Mom, I don't sing. I'm just worshiping God right now." Like I was kind of frustrated because I was like trying to worship, and I was almost embarrassed because I just didn't like to sing in front of my mom. I had never sang in front of her. So it was definitely like an embarrassing moment for me as a kid. And so she was like, "Well, will you at least pray about singing at the funeral?" She asked me, "Would you be willing to sing at the funeral?" And I was like, "Mom, there's no way." So I go upstairs in my room and I lock the door, and I'm like, "God, if you want me to sing, you're going to tell me I'm going to sing, because I cannot do this. I'm going to cry my eyes out. I'm too nervous. Like, I've never sang in front of anyone." And sure enough, within like 30 minutes, the Lord told me that I needed to sing at the funeral. And so that was kind of the first moment of knowing that God was doing something in my life. And then a few days later, the funeral arrives, and I'm walking up on stage to sit down at the piano. I sit down, my hands are about to start, like press the first chord to start the song. And I heard God's voice, and he spoke to me clear as day. I'll never forget it. He said, "Anne, I am calling you to praise and worship my name. Like, this is what I'm calling you to do." And so I was sitting there in front of 1,200 people at my brother's funeral, facing like the reality that Jacob had passed away and grieving him, also just being nervous. And God speaks my calling like to me. And it was like more than just calling. It was like, this is why I was created, was to do this. And I just remember the Lord taking all my nerves away and all my anxiousness away, and just kind of replaced it with peace. And I sang the whole song without crying. I got through just worshiping my heart out, not worrying about anything else, but just worshiping God. And that was the first moment that I really knew that I was supposed to do music with my life. I didn't know what that looked like at the time, but I knew that I was going to do something in the realm of worship leading, or what I'm doing now. So,
oh my word. That is an incredible story. Thank you so much for sharing that. Wow. Anne Wilson is with us today on the road. She is the breakout singer-songwriter behind My Jesus, the single that's taken radio by storm this year. So I'm sitting here taking that in terms of the nervousness and the stage fright, in a sense. I mean, it's the most natural thing in the world. I mean, if you look at the list of fears that Americans have, number one is being in front of people. I mean, more than actually passing away, or spiders or snakes or anything like that. In terms of your relationship to nervousness, does it work in the sense that in that moment, like, was it all gone, all going forward, or is that sort of a process, like that's still there somewhere, but God continually is pushing it away from you?
I think in that moment it was more of just like he took it away for that time. I think it was more of a moment of like, you know what, I am going to just worship God wholeheartedly right now and just thank him that Jacob is in heaven, that kind of thing. Whereas like, sometimes it's still there, like I think it still lingers, but I think it's up to us, and as humans and Christians and stuff, like, we have to be mindful of it and just take control of it and know that God is walking with us through every moment. And I used to have horrible stage fright. When I was in like 4th and 5th grade, we would have to do like these paper presentations like in our class.
Yes.
And I would always, my hands would be sweating and I'd be shaking and I'm like, I can't do it. But I always like remember just pushing through, and it always made me stronger. And so that was kind of the funny thing, was when I started singing, I thought surely I'd have a lot of stage fright. But God, every show just will take it away from me. And I go out there and I just try to just worship him just like I did at the funeral, and, share the gospel and just love on people on the, on stage. And so I think that that's something that's kind of gradually happens, but you have to really take control of it.
Oh, that's so interesting. And that'll be so encouraging for a lot of us. I mean, even folks that don't get up and sing for a living, that's so meaningful to hear that. And I was so intrigued too to hear you tell the story, because when I read it in the bio that you'd never performed in front of people before the funeral, I thought, part of me is thinking that's got to be an exaggeration, obviously. But no, that is actually entirely the case.
Yep, absolutely.
Well, let's talk about the journey from that moment to being discovered, as they say, and having this music touch so many people. That video itself really was the genesis of where you are today, right?
Yeah, so I released a cover video of What a Beautiful Name on YouTube in 2017 in September, and that was the moment where it ended up kind of going somewhat viral in 2 or 3 months. And I was found by my now manager, Jason Davis, through that YouTube video and started working with him, and he's the one that's gotten me where I am today. So that was a moment where it was like that video I posted just to dedicate it to Jacob and to have something to look back on for my family and just kind of a moment in time. And it ended up that God was using that in a really powerful way. He was impacting lives through just posting the cover video, but also that was the beginning of what God was about to do.
About to do some pretty incredible things as it happens.
I know.
My word. Well, let's talk about My Jesus, because this is the song that is just storming the charts right now on radio all across the country and the world. And this is a song that actually begins in the pages of your journal, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, I started journaling after my brother passed away 4 years ago. And I used it as a tool just to get my thoughts out on paper and just to kind of process what was happening with the loss and, the grief and all of it. And so I'm sitting down and we're about to write a song. And it was August 2020, so almost a year ago. And I was with Matthew West and Jeff Pardo. Jeff Pardo is a writer in town, and Matthew West, I'm sure you know him. He's an amazing Christian artist. And so we were sitting down and we were just talking about, titles and ideas and stuff. And I had this My Jesus thing on my heart because I had looked back into my journals and I had noticed that I had never written anything other than My Jesus. I never referred to him as God, Lord, Jesus, any other name. It was always My Jesus. And a few weeks before that I had like this moment, and I was like, I remember asking God, why have I always referred to you as My Jesus? And I remember him saying, and that's because that's the truth. I am yours and you are mine, and we have a personal relationship. And I just remember being blown away by that day and what the Lord was speaking to me. And so then a few weeks later, coming to this write, and I was feeling that, and Matthew West had the same title in his head of My Jesus. And so we come into write having the same idea in our heads, wanting to write the song. And we wrote the song, and at the time, we didn't really think that it would be the first single or that, we would maybe even do anything with it. But it just felt like a super special song. And a few months went by, and we decided that we wanted that to be the song. And it was just such a profound moment for me because it was like I now get the opportunity to share with people, this is My Jesus. This is what he's done for me. He's made a miracle out of my life. He's done all these things. He's brought beauty from ashes, all the good things that God has done in my life. And guess what? He can do the same for you too. And so that's just been so encouraging for me to be able to share this story behind the song with people and get to just share My Jesus and the ways that he's impacted me and encourage others that he's going to do the same for them.
We're talking with Ann Wilson today on the road for Faith Radio, the breakout singer-songwriter behind My Jesus, the single that continues to take radio by storm this year. It just keeps going up the charts. I was noticing just week to week, it just keeps going up. And we know number one is probably only a few weeks away at this point. It's true. It's amazing how people are responding. I just went somewhere just the other day, and someone said to me, "Thank you so much for playing My Jesus." And I said to them, I thank you for thanking me, but thank God and thank Ann Wilson. So
that's amazing.
Now that made it all the way to you. That's kind of cool how that worked out, actually.
That's so special.
When you talk about Johnny Cash, I know Dolly Parton is another singer-songwriter that you look up to so much. Was there somebody in your family as well? I mean, so often an artist who does what you do has an influence inside the family that really brought you to this love for what you do.
So I grew up with my mom's brother, my mom's brother, but my uncle, always playing the guitar, and he's a pastor, and he's just a just a worship leader and just very in love with the Lord. And so I grew up with that kind of influence. And then all of my cousins on my mom's side are singers, and so they sing in church and all that kind of stuff. But I did not grow up looking to that and being like, okay, that's what I'm going to do.
Right.
It was more of like, this is just what I'm surrounded by. But I wasn't surrounded by the music industry either. It was more of just like church singers and people like that loved music but didn't do it as their job or their career. And so for me, growing up, I didn't look to that and go like, oh, that's what I want to do. It was just something that I knew that was kind of always accessible for me, which is part of the reason why I am where I am today. Is I took piano lessons for 13 years and was always brought up in that music household. And so I knew, I always knew that background, but definitely did not look at them and go like, okay, I want to be like them. But part of my love for Dolly Parton came from my mom's mom, my grandmother. She loved Dolly Parton, and my mom does too. And so we would go to Dollywood a lot as a kid because I grew up in Lexington, Kentucky, which is just a few hours from Dollywood. And so we would go there all the time and would just listen to her music all the way there. And I just remember falling in love with her on those road trips to Dollywood and just always talking about her. And I've just always been fascinated by her story and how she was brought up and raised and just all that she's done. So I'm a huge fan of Dolly.
It's pretty lovely stuff. And speaking of journaling, you mentioned this just a few moments ago, but you've said one of the places that you love to go and write is your grandpa's farm. And as a card-carrying farm boy myself, that caught my attention. I kind of loved that. What's it like on the farm, and why is that a place where creativity just kind of explodes for you?
I've just always loved God's creation, and something about the farm is just very, very special for me. We have cows and horses, and I think more than the animals, it's really just about land and knowing that me and Jacob spent all of our last few weekends together at the farm, and we would go and shoot guns, and we would, go on hikes and explore the farm. And it was kind of a time in my life where I was just very like open to just trying new things. Yeah. And so we would do all sorts of things at the farm. And so when I go to the farm, one of my favorite things about it is just looking back on the memories with my brother and walking in the same spots that we walked like days before he passed away, and just always reflecting on the conversations we had there, and also just like reflecting on the fact that it's been in my family for so long, and that it's something that I love to hold on to, knowing that like this is a family place. And I also just love Kentucky, and I love the mountains in Kentucky. And that's one of the things about the farm. There's so many mountains surrounding it. And so it's almost like enclosed by mountains, and you can't see the farm from the road or anything like that. It's very enclosed, and it's just really special. And even now, more special after Jacob has passed away, and we have his grave site there. So whenever I go to the grave, I'm going to the farm. And I also write there, like I'll write literally right next to the grave. Like I'll pull up a chair and I'll just talk to Jacob, and I'll write songs or come up with title ideas. And it's just a really great place for me to just talk to Jacob and just, cry and process all the things that, that it looks like to walk through grief, but also just to kind of connect back to the Lord and grow closer to him.
Man. Well, thank you so much for being so open and honest. For fans of your music, I mean, what a treat this has been to hear your heart this way. So thank you so much for being willing to do that. I know you have new music on the way already coming up, a live EP that's coming in less than a month, right?
Yes, I'm so excited.
What can we expect? Awesome. I mean, is it gonna change our lives basically?
It's going to change our lives. It's the 3 songs that I've already released. It's going to be like a live version of them. And then the other 2 songs, I'll just say one is a cover of one of my favorite country songs. And the other song is a new song, and it's about me and my brother and our memories at the farm, actually. So wow. I'm very excited for that song to come out, because I think that it kind of allows people just to kind of come in to our memories and walk with us through what we walked through as brothers and sisters. So it's going to be amazing. I'm so excited. It's very Southern sounding. It's just fun. I'm really excited because it's kind of like an opportunity to share these songs I've already released in a different way, and then to give you a new song, and then as well as like a cover and of a really fun country song. So I'm super excited about it.
You've been so kind to give us the time you have. I know we have just a few minutes remaining, and so I'm just going to indulge and ask a question that I really want to know the answer to, which is, we started the conversation talking about Johnny Cash, and you mentioned The Man Comes Around, one of the treasures of the Johnny Cash catalog that a lot of people haven't heard because it's not, Ring of Fire or Walk the Line. Have you ever covered that song yourself?
I have not, but I have covered God's Gonna Cut You Down.
Really?
And yes, I have. It's on my Instagram reel somewhere, like it was probably like a year ago now. But I do need to cover that one. Like that's one that I need to start working on. But I do like that. Man, that would be so fun to cover that song.
Please do it. I would never, I normally don't just appeal to artists directly to do something because I know you're much wiser and smarter than I am, but please do.
No, not at all. Yes, honestly, I'm going to get on that. I'm going to film it.
Okay.
I'll do a cover of it and I'll post it so that we can all like freak out together.
Ann Wilson has been with us today. Of course, the single, you don't need me to tell you, but it's called My Jesus, that's taken radio by storm this year. And it has just been the best to have you here today. And of course, obviously the music available wherever fine music is sold or streamed. But if people do want to learn more about you, where are some of the places they should start?
Yeah, so you guys can find me on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Ann Wilson Music. And I also have a website. It's called AnnWilsonOfficial.com. And so that has all my tour dates. It has merch. You can get all the information you need to know on my website.
And we have just a few moments left, so I'm going to ask another question that probably wouldn't have made it onto the prep sheet, but you obviously love space so much. You spend a lot of time thinking about space. If you could go anywhere in space, assuming the spacecraft was there in existence that could get you there, where would you go?
That is the greatest question anyone has ever asked me. No one's ever asked me that question. Oh my gosh.
Take your time.
That made my day.
I realize it's a little bit out of left field.
No, but I love it. It would be Saturn. If I could go anywhere, it'd be Saturn, because Saturn to me is my favorite planet. Like, it's so fascinating, the rings of Saturn. Actually, fun fact, I just got a telescope that my mom and dad got me for Christmas.
No.
It just now came in 2 days ago. And you can see the rings of Saturn from the telescope.
Seriously? Oh, my.
It's insane. I know. I'm about to, I'm going to do it later tonight and just open it up and figure out how it works. But yeah, I love Saturn. That's a great question.
And thank you so much for being willing to geek out with us on multiple subjects. Johnny Cash, Saturn, across the spectrum. It's been really great to have you here. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. It was so much fun to talk to you.